News with Larry Potash, Robin Baumgarten, Paul Conrad, Pat Tomasulo, and Anna Bellaval with Around Town. This is WGN Morning News at 9.
Coming up, we will have a recap of yesterday's fun at Fantasy Costumes.
First, a check of the weather, Paul.
Yeah, we're going to see sunshine here this afternoon. Clouds will gradually decrease as we move through the morning hours. We'll top out in the upper 50s here today and tomorrow. Tomorrow, we'll keep a 20% chance for a spotty shower here early in the morning hours and then late afternoon, evening. A stray shower not out of the question. Sunday's dry with highs in the mid-50s. We'll warm into the upper 60s as we get into the middle of next week. We'll get into the details of the full forecast coming up in just a few minutes.
Well, Chris Coyle was an angry news writer here at WGN just a short time ago, but he had other plans. He had to go write a book, actually do something with his life, and now he's back. He has this book called Estrus, Shoveling the Stuff since '87. It's the untold story of U.S. garage rock powerhouse Estrus Records. That label churned out hundreds of releases from the biggest garage.
Garbage works.
Trash, surf, punk bands of all time. And Chris is with us, and so is...
You're not angry anymore. Look at the smile on your face.
And
I'm so happy.
Scott Sugiuchi is with him, too, the illustrator of this book. Is that right?
Designer. Yeah.
Designer of the book. Well, it's good to have you back. How does it feel to be back here? Is it just all your dreams come
I've never
true?
been in the green room before, so that was awesome. Yeah.
It's really impressive, isn't it?
Yeah, very cool. But no, this is so great to be back. We're both kind of recovering a little bit. We were at the Pinball Expo last night. That has nothing to do with the book.
So you're exhausted, right? All the women and the drinking and the pinball. It was a rough night. I get it. Totally. You don't have to explain that.
So tell people about Estrus Records. Maybe a lot of people not familiar with it.
Yeah, so it was actually a great record label that was did most of their output before streaming, MP3s, all that sort of thing. So it was, a largely vinyl-based label. And as you mentioned, a lot of garage rock bands that had a pull across the globe, a big international roster on the label.
Yeah, when you say garage band, what does that mean? I think of, this is a genre I'm not that familiar with, but I think of the Sonics, which is an old garage band, right? I had never heard of them and discovered them, and I thought, this is amazing. And they ended up influencing, like, Smashing Pumpkins and all these guys. Can you give us some examples of bands we should know?
Well, it's great that you bring up the Sonics, because that was one of the first releases this label did, was a tribute album called Here Ain't the Sonics. And it was a lot of, because, the Sonics album is called Here Are the Sonics. And so it brought together a lot of regional acts at the time that, were all big Sonics fans. And so now I'm kind of forgetting what the second part of your question.
So what are some other bands we should know that may have influenced some bands that we do know, so that I may I'll go check out the Sonics?
Okay, Dave Kreider, who ran the label, his band was called the Mono Men. He had a huge presence here in Chicago. Other band,
What do you think of bands on the label that influenced? Or bands? I feel like a lot of the kind of like garage rock sound was basically, the Sonics were on, but there's a lot of bands that nobody's ever heard of that were trying to emulate like the Kinks or the Beatles, but on a budget. So, the sound was unintentionally kind of dirty and cheap, but that made it sound cool.
Right.
So,
So Scott, you designed the book, and it's a coffee table book, right? So are we just seeing a lot of cool pictures, or is there artwork to it too?
There's photographs. There's everything from poster reproductions, art, set lists, everything.
Everything in there.
The record label put out every release had multiple pieces of ephemera that came with it, so that's what made this like a super visual designer thing. Like a lot of the fun about it is it appeals to like musicians and designers and artists.
What about Chicago will be in there?
Let's see. So, the Empty Bottle was sort of the Midwest home base for the label. And there was a famous festival back in '96 called Bottle Shock that bands gravitated to.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and then also the place that we're doing one of the events that we have coming up, Delilah's Bar. Dave and the owner Mike Miller have a long relationship, and it's. If you walk into Delilah's, you're like, okay, this is a garage rock bar.
Awesome.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, you can meet Chris and Scott at Quimby's Bookstore in Wicker Park tomorrow from 1 to 4, and at Delilah's in Lincoln Park Sunday from 6 until close. Great to see it. Great to have you.
Thank you.
God, what's your favorite memory here at WGN? Angry News Writer Theater?
I never got to partake in that, but I'm so grateful that you put my van on TV. I don't know if you remember that, but that was, oh man, made my mom so proud. It was great.
It's good to see you.
Yeah,
Good to see you
there.
guys.
Yeah.
Take care.
We'll be right back.